A man walks into his home after a long day at work. To his surprise, he sees his wife of 10 years hurriedly packing her suitcases. Confused, he asks, "What's going on? Why are you packing?" She looks up and says, "I'm heading to Las Vegas. I heard that there are men out there who will pay me $500 each time for what I've been giving you for free all these years." The man stands still, deep in thought for a moment, and then decides to start packing his own suitcase. She stares at him in disbelief and says, "And just where do you think you're going?" He grins and replies, "I'm coming with you to Las Vegas. I'm really curious to see how you plan to make ends meet with just $1,000 for the whole year." A man and a woman are sharing a meal together in a nice restaurant. As the waitress is busy taking an order from another group of customers a few tables away, she notices something strange. The man, who was initially sitting upright at his table, is gradually slipping down his chair and under the table, while the woman sitting opposite him seems completely indifferent to this. The waitress continues to observe as the man slowly slides all the way under the table until he completely disappears from view. Meanwhile, the woman who was sharing dinner with him still does not seem to react at all. At last, the waitress decides to approach their table. She speaks in a hushed, polite voice to the woman. "Excuse me, ma'am, but I believe your husband just slipped all the way under the table." However, the woman responds in a very composed manner. "No, he didn't," she says coolly. "In fact, he just walked in the door." There's this man who really takes his physical fitness seriously. He lifts heavy weights and goes jogging for 5 long miles daily. One bright morning, he looks at his reflection in the mirror and admires his fit body. He notices that his body is beautifully toned all over except for one particular part. He decides that this needs to be fixed, so he heads to the beach, takes off all his clothes, and buries himself in the sand, leaving just that one part sticking out above the surface. Meanwhile, 2 elderly ladies are leisurely walking along the same beach. One of them looks down and exclaims, "There's really no fairness in this world." The other elderly lady looks confused and asks, "What do you mean by that?" The first old lady points and says, "Look at that. When I was just 10 years old, I used to be frightened of it. When I was 20 years old, I was intrigued and curious about it. When I was 30 years old, I actually found it enjoyable. When I was 40 years old, I explicitly asked for it. When I reached 50, I had to pay money for it. When I was 60 years old, I was fervently praying for it. When I hit 70, I completely forgot about it. And now that I'm 80, these things are sprouting up all over the place." One day, a policeman pulled over a driver who was going really fast on Main Street. The driver quickly said, "Wait, officer, I have a reason." The policeman immediately said, "Stay quiet. You're going to sit in the jail for a while. We'll wait until our chief is back to deal with you." But the driver tried again. "Officer, I just wanted to tell you that..." The officer cut him off. "I told you, be quiet. You're staying in the cell." After a few hours, the officer came to check on the man in the cell. He said, "You're kind of lucky. Our chief is at his daughter's wedding right now. He's probably going to be in a very happy mood when he returns." The man in the cell replied, "I wouldn't be so sure about that. You see, I'm the groom." A husband and wife realized they needed a secret code to signal to each other that they wanted to get intimate, especially with their young children around. They wanted to ensure their kids wouldn't catch on. They settled on using the word typewriter as their code. One Sunday morning, the husband approached his 5-year-old daughter and gently said, "Sweetie, can you go and tell mommy that daddy wants to use the typewriter?" Obliging, the little girl went to her mum and relayed her father's message. The mother thought for a moment and replied, "Go and tell your daddy that he can't use the typewriter right now because there's a red ribbon stuck in it." The little girl, being the messenger, trotted back to her father and told him what her mum had said. A couple of days passed, and then one day, the mum nudged her daughter and said, "Can you let daddy know he can use the typewriter now?" The little messenger conveyed the message to her father. After a moment, she returned to mum and declared, "Daddy said never mind with the typewriter. He already wrote his note by hand."
She yells, "No, I won't sleep with you tonight, you pig." Everyone in the bar stops and stares. Completely embarrassed, the guy slinks back to his table with a red face. After a few minutes, the woman walks over to him and apologizes. She smiles and says, "I'm sorry if I embarrassed you. I'm a graduate student in psychology, and I'm studying how people respond to embarrassing public situations." To which the guy responds as loudly as possible, "What do you mean $200 for a BJ?